embracing each other over the phone about a dearly beloved friend, because Malcolm's mother was also his manager.
What if everything you thought about Malcolm-Jamal Warner and Bill Cosby was only half the story? Behind the laughter and family values of The Cosby Show was a relationship deeper than TV ever revealed. Malcolm's sudden funeral changed everything, and Cosby's tribute left the room in stunned silence. But what happened in their final days will shock you. Stick around to the end, because what we uncovered about their last connection will leave you speechless. The relationship of father and son. When Malcolm-Jamal Warner joined The Cosby Show in 1984, he was only 4. A teenager stepping into America's living rooms as Theo Huxtable, he had no idea how big the show would become, or how much Bill Cosby would shape his life beyond the screen. Cosby saw something rare in Malcolm from day one. He wasn't just hiring a young actor, he was investing in someone he believed could become a powerful voice in the industry. From that point on, their relationship became much more than a working partnership. On set, Cosby took time between takes to teach Malcolm everything the business wouldn't. He taught him how to carry himself, how to handle the spotlight, and how to think long-term. Lessons went far beyond acting, covering money, character discipline, and survival. While other actors relaxed between scenes, Malcolm would often stay by Cosby's side, listening, learning, and absorbing every piece of advice. The crew noticed it early. Malcolm mirrored Cosby's walk, mannerisms, even how he spoke in interviews. That bond became the emotional core of the show. Behind the laughter and scripted family life, the father-son dynamic between them was real. Cosby guided Malcolm through early rejection, growing fame, and the pressure of being a young black star in a tough industry. Malcolm didn't just appreciate it, he lived by it. People close to the show often said Cosby wasn't mentoring a co-star. He was raising someone he saw as his own. As the years passed, Malcolm matured into more than a TV star. He became a director, producer, and writer, all with the same focus and discipline Cosby had drilled into him. But the world around them changed. Cosby's public image began to unravel in the mid-2010s, and Malcolm, now a respected adult in Hollywood, had to make a difficult choice. He started keeping a quiet distance, protecting his reputation while still holding personal loyalty. Insiders say that despite the tension, the two never fully lost touch. Malcolm would still reach out privately, sending birthday messages and checking in on Cosby during hard times. Their bond had changed, but not broken. Even as the public turned against Cosby, Malcolm never publicly disrespected or disavowed him. He chose silence, but that silence spoke volumes. A surprising detail came out after Malcolm's death. His last known phone call to Cosby happened just 6 days before he died. Sources close to the family confirmed that call wasn't short. No one knows what was said, but its timing has raised questions. Why reach out so close to the end? And what did Malcolm need to say that couldn't wait? Those close to the show's legacy say the emotional bond between Cosby and Malcolm never faded. Their relationship wasn't based on showbiz, but on shared years of growth, hardship, and lessons. Cosby once said Malcolm reminded him of the son he never had. That kind of connection doesn't disappear just because time or scandal tries to erase it. And it's what made Cosby's reaction at the funeral so hard to watch. In the early years, Malcolm used to shadow Cosby at public events, award shows, and even private dinners. That access gave him insight into how Hollywood works behind the scenes. It also gave him a front-row seat to the double life many celebrities lived. Malcolm once used that knowledge to help other young actors avoid the same pitfalls. He became a quiet mentor in his own right, passing down the same values Cosby had once given him. A new angle that hasn't been widely discussed involves Malcolm's involvement in youth outreach programs in the last 5 years of his life. He focused heavily on protecting young black talent from being manipulated in the industry. That mission may have been inspired by Cosby's early influence, but shaped by his own experiences. Some say Malcolm had recently started working on a docuseries to expose industry abuse. Whether that project was connected to his death remains unknown, but the timing has sparked speculation. Malcolm's relationship with Cosby wasn't without strain, but it was never fake. He grew up under Cosby's watch, and that shaped everything he became. When Cosby mourned him publicly, it wasn't for show. It came from decades of shared history. You can't fake that kind of pain, especially not when it's tied to someone who once looked to you like a second father. Millions grew up with him on their screens, but few knew the depth of his talent and personal journey. Cosby's eulogy no one was prepared for. It was a private service, closed to cameras and journalists. Only family, close friends, and a few big names from the entertainment world were allowed inside. The church was quiet, filled with tension, and the pews were lined with people dressed in all black. No music played as guests filed in, only the low shuffle of feet and hushed whispers. Every face showed grief, but also confusion, like no one really knew what to expect. Then Cosby arrived, older than most remembered, moving slowly with the help of aides. His presence alone shifted the atmosphere, creating a mix of surprise and discomfort. People weren't sure what to feel, seeing the man who once played America's dad walking into this deeply personal goodbye. His face was blank, but his eyes looked lost. As he stepped toward the pulpit, the room held its breath. Cosby stood in silence before speaking. He didn't look at the crowd, just stared ahead, still. Then, with a raspy voice, he began to speak about Malcolm, calling back to when they first met. He described a boy with quiet strength and unusual patience, someone eager to learn more than just how to act. He said he saw Malcolm's greatness before the world ever did. People expected stories about the show and their time on screen. But Cosby didn't go there. Instead, he spoke of late-night talks, fears Malcolm kept to himself, and pressures no child star should face. He mentioned moments where Malcolm broke down away from the cameras, not because of failure, but because of the weight he carried. He said Malcolm had survived things others didn't even see. Then, Cosby's tone changed. He stopped reading from the notes in his hand. He looked directly into the crowd and said something no one was ready for. His words hinted that Malcolm wasn't just a victim of stress, he had been surrounded by something darker. The mood in the church instantly shifted. Cosby said the people around Malcolm failed him. He described a world that looked safe from the outside, but was filled with manipulation and quiet betrayal. He didn't name names, but his words painted a clear picture of a system that used Malcolm and left him unprotected. He said they all thought he'd outgrow the pressure, but it never let go. Some guests turned away, clearly shaken. He ended the speech with a single sentence that changed everything in the room. Cosby asked for forgiveness, not for himself, but for everyone who couldn't shield Malcolm when it mattered most. That moment froze the entire church. Phylicia Rashad dropped her head, visibly emotional. The silence afterward was louder than anything Cosby had said. From that point on, the service didn't feel like a goodbye. It felt like a confession, a moment where truth was spoken without filters. Keshia, Knight Pulliam, and Tempest Bledsoe were seen comforting each other, tears streaming. Even people who hadn't worked with Malcolm looked stunned, as if realizing they missed signs. It was no longer just about honoring the man, it became about reckoning with what happened around him. One insider later claimed that Cosby had written a very different speech the night before. It was full of stories, jokes, and memories from the set. But that paper never made it to the pulpit. Instead, Cosby spoke from somewhere raw and unprepared, choosing truth over nostalgia. That choice left the room in silence long after he stepped down. Phylicia Rashad private confession. A few days after the funeral, Phylicia Rashad sat down with a longtime journalist friend. No cameras, no press, just quiet reflection. During the service, she appeared composed, but behind closed doors, her voice trembled. What she revealed cast a darker shadow over Malcolm-Jamal Warner's final days. She recalled a late-night phone call from Malcolm just a week before his death. He sounded calm, but different. There was a weight behind his words, like someone saying goodbye without saying it. At the time, she dismissed it. Maybe he was tired. But now, those words haunt her. He hinted at pressure, at powerful people trying to silence him. Then he clammed up. She asked questions, but he dodged them. It felt like a warning disguised as a check-in. He wanted her to know something, without pulling her in too deep. What shook Phylicia most was the mention of executives from the past, people with real power. No names, just shadows. He had been quietly working on a documentary, not about sitcoms or fame, but about the hidden side of Black Hollywood. Secrets, pain, and truth. It was personal and dangerous. Malcolm had started the project with just a few trusted people. Interviews were filmed, files stored securely. But right before his death, he suddenly shut it down. No explanation. The footage is now missing, locked away, or worse, destroyed. Phylicia didn't want to believe foul play, but she couldn't ignore the signs. He'd canceled appearances, gone silent, and skipped a cast reunion he once treasured. He wasn't afraid of losing fans. He was afraid of crossing a line drawn long ago by people in power. And when he got too close, the silence felt more like fear than peace. Official reports say accident, but the missing laptop, camera glitch, and secret call logs paint a different, darker picture. Was this really an accident? The official report claimed Malcolm-Jamal Warner was on a solo retreat near a quiet lake in Vancouver. He was said to have drowned while spending time alone at his cabin. Police found no signs of foul play, and the case was marked as an accidental death. Friends were stunned, but they accepted what they were told. For a while, the public did too, until the questions started piling up. 3 late-night calls were made from Malcolm's phone just hours before he died. One was to Phylicia Rashad, another to a former publicist, and a third to someone saved only as L. None of these calls were listed in the official police report. It's unclear if they were missed by accident or left out intentionally. But many believe these calls were critical to what happened next. Then came the issue with the dock's security camera. The resort had a working surveillance system that had never failed before. But on that specific night, the camera facing the lake mysteriously shut down. It was labeled a technical glitch, but records show it was the only one in 18 months. No backup footage was available, and no maintenance issue was logged. Inside the cabin, police found the door bolted from the inside. Yet Malcolm's body was discovered outside, near the edge of the lake. There was no broken lock, no broken windows, and no other exit. How did he get out? This single fact has caused many to doubt the entire narrative surrounding his death. A staff member at the resort quietly came forward. They reported seeing a man in a black hoodie walking toward Malcolm's cabin that night. The man asked specifically for Malcolm but left no name, no ID, and never returned. His face was never caught on any cameras, and no one knew who he was. The staffer later said it felt like someone was trying not to be noticed. One major detail has been ignored in most news reports. Malcolm's personal laptop, where he kept private files and documentary notes, has never been found. The police never listed it as missing, but a backup hard drive, kept separately by his cousin, was quietly recovered. That drive is now being reviewed by a private investigator connected to the family. There are now whispers that the contents of that drive could answer some of the most puzzling questions. Malcolm had been working on exposing something big, possibly related to the industry. His calls, his sudden retreat, the camera failure, and the locked door all hint at more than just a drowning. Too many pieces are missing, but some are now falling into place. The family has not made public statements, but sources say they're not ruling anything out. Others close to Malcolm have said he had grown increasingly private in the months before his death. He told a few friends that he was finally ready to tell the truth. What truth that was, no one seems to know for sure. But those same friends now believe that whatever he was working on may have put him at risk. The pattern of events looks less like an accident and more like a planned silence. They hid their love for years, but in death, Karen's quiet confession became the loudest echo of heartbreak, a truth never told. At the end of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's funeral, as guests slowly left, one person stayed behind. Karen Molina White stood still by the casket, her hand gently resting on it. Their relationship was never a tabloid headline, but behind closed doors, it lasted over 10 quiet years. They had built a bond far deeper than the public ever saw, one that survived years of distance and life changes. And in that silent moment, everything she had held back came flooding out. She leaned in and spoke just above a whisper, unaware a nearby guest had their phone recording. Her words, "You were the one. I never stopped loving you," carried more weight than any speech that day. Within hours, the clip hit social media and exploded. Fans were stunned to hear such raw emotions so clearly. The internet did what it always does. It listened, reacted, and mourned with her. The love they shared wasn't widely known, but those closest to them weren't surprised. Karen and Malcolm had dated quietly during and after their Cosby Show years, staying off the radar by choice. Their split wasn't messy, it was life pulling them in different directions. Over time, they stayed friends, checking in, sometimes disappearing for years, always finding their way back. According to a mutual friend, the last time they saw each other was just months before his death. As Karen's voice circled the internet, the reactions were immediate. Fans dug up old pictures, vacation shots, red carpet moments, and behind-the-scenes candids, many they had never seen before. Suddenly, this hidden chapter of Malcolm's life was being pieced together by strangers. The emotion behind the moment hit hard because it felt honest. It was the kind of grief that only comes from deep, unfinished love. At the funeral, the pain was visible. Kashia Knight Pulliam, who had grown up on set with Malcolm, broke down alongside Phylicia Rashad. Both women had known the story behind Malcolm and Karen's connection and felt the sting of what was lost. It wasn't just about a partner gone. It was about a lifetime of chances, now gone forever. That emotion swept through everyone present, catching them off guard. The silence in the room wasn't just mourning, it was regret. Karen didn't speak to the media, but 2 days later, she posted one simple photo to Instagram, a black and white portrait of Malcolm smiling softly. The caption read, "You were my peace before the world got too loud." It struck a nerve. Fans flooded the post with love, heartbreak, and shared memories. Some called it the most moving tribute they'd seen in years. One of the new insights that surfaced came from a former assistant who worked with Malcolm on a short film. She said he had once told her, "There's only one person who really knows me." She didn't name Karen, but after the funeral, it was clear who he meant. That moment added another layer to a story already filled with emotion. People weren't just mourning a TV star, they were grieving the quiet collapse of a love story that never had its ending. Tributes began popping up everywhere, not just to Malcolm, but to the kind of love he and Karen had. The kind that never asks for attention, but leaves a lasting mark. Fans started writing posts, sharing their own stories of lost love, second chances missed, and things left unsaid. Malcolm's death had cracked open something personal in people. It became more than a celebrity moment. It was real, and it hurt. In the days that followed, friends close to Karen said she wasn't ready to speak further, but she was grateful the truth came out. That truth, simple and powerful, echoed through every corner of the internet. Sometimes the most shocking part of someone's life is what they never told anyone. And when that story finally finds the light, it doesn't fade quickly. Because what Karen whispered wasn't just about the past. It was about a future that would never come. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click on the next video popping up on your screen for more amazing content.